hair is getting really, really long.
Hey, Brooks Scholars. Welcome back to Remote Learning with me, Mr. Scott. How are you? Happy Thursday. Now, listen, I know parts of this week have been a little bit gloomy weather-wise with the rain and the cold weather and the wind whipping, but don't worry, because we are going to heat things up. Grab your sunglasses because we're going to hit the beach. Oh, yeah. Today, we've got a wonderful fiction story that we're going to be reading. And once again today, I want us to talk and focus and concentrate all of our hard work on the idea of dialogue. Dialogue. What's dialogue? Do you remember? What is that stuff? Tell me. Characters talking to one another. That's right. And there are lots of different ways, as we talked about earlier in the week, lots of different ways that authors will show that characters are talking. The first, of course, is the fact that you get those wonderful quotation marks like this, yes? And the words in between those quotation marks are the words that the character is saying. But we also talked about speaker tags. What's a speaker tag? Right. The speaker tag tells you two pieces of very important information. It gives the name of the character that's talking, and it also explains how that character is saying those words. Now, that's important because that can give us a lot of clues about how the character is feeling. So, we're going to be talking about dialogue. We're going to be thinking about how the author is using dialogue to tell the story. All right, let's jump in. Are you ready? Here we go. Racing Team by Arlene Mark. Carter woke up early. This was the day he had waited for all year, the New Year's Eve sand sculpture contest at the beach. He pulled on his shorts and raced down to the kitchen, grabbed a granola bar and a banana, and headed toward the beach with a shovel, pail, and spray bottle clutched to his chest. He and Max believed that they would win this year. They had built castles and forts before, but they had a great idea for this year: a sports car. Max was already at the beach, sitting in a shallow pool of water. "This is a good spot," Max said. "There's lots of squishy wet sand to build with." He picked up a handful and dribbled it over his legs. "Let's start," said Carter. He began scooping up wet sand with his shovel and dumping it near the pool of water. Then he packed the sand with both hands while Max dumped on more sand and slapped it into a mound. Other builders slowed down as they passed Max and Carter, looking at the growing mound of sand. "Nice wall," said a man carrying a shovel. "Sports car," said Carter. "We just started." Rising out of the sand nearby were castles, dragons, whales, and mermaids, and right next to the boys another mound was growing. Carter peeked around it. "Hey," he said, "what's this?" Two girls were kneeling and packing. "It's a sports car," one of them said. Both girls giggled and kept working. "But you can't build a sports car," Carter said. "We're building one." "Ours is a convertible," said the girl with black hair, rounding off a fender. "But we got here first," Max said. "You're copying." "No, we're not," said the red-haired girl. "We've been planning this all year." Carter whispered to Max. "Just keep working. Ours will be better." "Keep packing, Kate," said the red-haired girl. "I'll get more sand from before the seats." "Good idea, Sophie." The hot sun was drying out the sand. Carter grabbed his spray bottle and moistened the car while Max shaped the headlights and the grille with his fingers. "Look," whispered Max. "It's starting to look like a real car." Carter smoothed the tires. "Yeah, it's really cool, but let's hurry. The judging is at 2 o'clock." Max peeked over at the competition. He was startled to see Kate and Sophie peering back at the boys' car. Nice picture of the kids on the beach there. Looks like they're packing the sports cars. They're quite close together, of course. This one's a convertible. Okay, let's do this. Before long, the judges began examining the sand sculptures and scribbling in little notebooks. "Good idea," said a voice. Carter, Max, Sophie, and Kate were all on their knees, hurrying to add the finishing touches to the cars. They shaded their eyes with their hands, and looked up. "A race," said the judge. This is the first time I've ever seen a sand sculpture of a race. The judge walked away, weaving past other sculptures. Carter, Max, Sophie, and Kate stared at one another, mouths open in surprise. Want to? Yeah, let's do it. Cool! Their hands flew as they quickly formed a racetrack around the cars. Your bumpers are really cool, said Carter. Can we copy them? Sure, said Kate. Can you show us how you made your tires so round? Yeah. Carter stepped over to the convertible. You just need to shape them, like this. I'll smooth out the track, said Sophie. And I'll put up a finish line, said Max. He found two sticks and poked them into the sand in front of the cars. Kate strung a ribbon of seaweed between them. These are two cool cars, Carter said. Before they could say another word, a voice called out, We have the winner here. The judge, who had admired their work earlier, stood beside the cars. First prize goes to, I didn't get the name of your entry. Carter spoke. It's called, uh, Racing Team, Kate shouted. Racing Team it is, said the judge. A photographer hurried over to take a picture for the newspaper. Two beautiful racing cars and four smiling sculptors. I love that story. I love it for so many reasons. Time to stop and think. What exactly happened in this story? Let's go back to the beginning. We'll start, of course, with the setting. Where does this take place? Well, most of it takes place on the beach, but there is a change in setting here. When we first start this story, of course, we are at Carter's home. It doesn't tell us a lot about him, but it does tell us that he is super excited for this New Year's Eve sand sculpture contest. I remember he had this idea to do the racing car, and he'd had it for a long, long time. So we'd really been looking forward to this. We know he's excited because he grabs his clothes and some breakfast and a few other things and runs down to the beach where he finds Max, who he's going to sculpt this design with. And Max is already there, and he thinks he's found a good spot because it's got some wet, lumpy sand that apparently you need to make sand sculptures. I wouldn't know, but I'll take Max's word for it. And they start and they're building it, and it's starting to look good. But then there are lots of other people that are also making designs and sculptures on the beach because they've entered the contest as well. And right next to Max and Carter are two girls, and the boys ask, "Hey, what's your design? What are you building?" I'm thinking it might be a dragon or a whale or a mermaid, like so many of the others. And the girls say it's a racing car. And then Carter does not like this idea. He says that, oh, you just copied our idea. And then the girl said, no, 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 that's not what's happening here at all. We've had this idea for a long time. And so they kind of agree to just ignore each other and make their own. Carter does lean into Max and say, ours is going to be better. And then something very, very interesting happens. Just as they're starting to get near the 2 o'clock deadline, a judge comes over and looks at the two cars and thinks that the two cars are actually part of the same sculpture, the same entry for the contest. And so he says, "Oh, that's a very good idea. I like this idea. Lovely idea." And so yeah, the judge is really, really excited about this. They go off, and all four kids are just shocked and amazed, and they're mouths fell open, just aghast. Can't believe this is happening. And then they say, well, do you want to do it? Should we work together? And they all agree it's a great idea. So then they hurry just to put the finishing touches, and they make a racetrack that kind of really joins the cars together in this one little scene. And they put a finish line up there. And then, of course, they win first prize. And they're all delighted to have worked together and solved that problem. Yay! Love that story of cooperation and teamwork. It's really, really good stuff. So, what else? Oh, yes, dialogue. There was a few parts that I thought were really interesting. Let's see over here. We had some more of this continuation dialogue, right? Where you have a piece of dialogue, the character is saying some words, you get the speaker tag, and then you get some more dialogue at the end, like this. You can't build a sports car, Carter said. We're building one. That was really nice. I love the way that we have. Where is it? It's later on here. This is a really cool moment. Okay, so this is just after the kind of confusion, if you will. The judge walking away saying, "I've never seen a sand sculpture of a race," and they're all standing there like, and the author wants this next. He wants sorry, Arlene. They want to make sure that the story kind of gets a little bit faster. And so what they do is they have really short pieces of dialogue and they come one after each other, and there's no speaker tags to slow us down. It says, want to? Yeah, let's do it. Cool. So that's the first time that all four of the characters, Carter, Max, Sophie, and Kate, are actually talking to each other. And that was just really, really. And then from there, watch this. So we have want to? Yeah, let's do it. Cool. Their hands flew as they quickly formed a racetrack around the cars. So the author really wants this sense of urgency. Okay, so if you're writing stories, and I hope you are, or keeping a journal entry or something, that's a really cool trick. You put a deadline; it has to be done by 2 o'clock. Oh, you're going to do all this work, and then suddenly you realize you want to change something. It's just a really cool idea for how to make a story seem really exciting and urgent. Very cool. All right, let's hit the questions. I think we're good to go here. Read the I'll try that again. Okay. Sorry. Read the direction. No. Read the dictionary entry for the word pass. Well done, Mr. Scott. Thank you, Mr. Scott. You're welcome, Mr. Scott. Let's go, Mr. Scott. Pass. Verb. It can mean lots of different things, the word pass. It can mean to ignore. It can mean to move by. It can mean to throw or hit a ball to a teammate. Or it can mean to complete a class successfully. So which meaning best matches the way the word passed is used in paragraph 7? Is it meaning 1, 2, 3, or 4? Your job, of course, to go back and find the evidence in paragraph 7 and then choose the correct answer. Now, we're going to be doing, I'm going to say this a few times today, we're going to be following the same idea right here, my friends. And by the way, this is about how close you should be holding any work that you do, reading, writing, or math, to the camera. It should be that close. It fills, see how it fills the entire space? I know there's a little bit of space over here and over here, but I can move it so you can see all of my work. I know this is from the other day, but you can see all of it. You can read every word, and that's what teachers are looking for when you post work to Seesaw. So this is the same formula that we're going to follow, okay? We're going to put multiple choice and stack them up, name, date over here, of course, and then our short answer questions. Make sure that you're following that for this one and tomorrow's as well. All right. Question number 2 says, which sentence best describes Carter and Max when they first notice the girls? They are worried that the girls are building a better car than they are. They want to change their plan and build a different sand sculpture. They are not pleased that the girls are also building a sports car, or they decide to help the girls make their car look even better. Again, go back, look at that information, choose the right answer. Question 3. Why are paragraphs 13 through 22 important to the plot of the story? Now, paragraphs 13 through 22. That word through means that we're talking about paragraphs 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. That's 10 paragraphs that you're going to need to read through in order to find the right answer. Important to the plot, that's our story elements, of course. The plot starts out with the setting, we introduce the characters, we have the problem, then we have all the things the character tries to do to solve the problem, and then we have our solution, our ending. So why is that part of the story, paragraphs 13 through 22, why is that important? They show that both groups are determined to win the sand sculpture competition. They suggest that the girls may cause trouble when the judging begins. They show why the boys should not talk with other people in the contest, or they suggest that the boys are concerned that the judges are interested in the car the girls are making. Only one of those is correct, friends. You need to find the right answer. All right, here we go. Read the story chart below. What do you think of this? Events from the story. Number 1, Carter wakes up and gets ready. Number 2, Carter meets his friend Max at the beach. Number 3, blank. Number 4, Max tells the girls that he and Carter started building their sculpture first. This is another one of those sequential questions. Sequence meaning what's happening first and then next and carrying on. So we've got to try and figure out only one of these 4 options goes right here in number 3. The tricky part is that most of the time when they ask these types of questions, all 4 of these things did actually happen in the story. So you've got to be really, really careful to figure out which one is 3, which one is missing. So here are your options. In between Carter meets Max, and Max tells the girls that he and Carter are building their sculpture first. What happened? Was it Carter tells Kate how to make their tires look round? Carter reminds Max that the judging begins at 2 o'clock. Carter, Max, Sophie, and Kate hurry to build a racetrack around their cars. Or Carter and Max begin making their sand sculpture by digging up sand and putting it in a pile. Which one goes in number 3? Be careful with that one. Question 5 is going to be a little bit quicker. In paragraph 20, the word moistened, moistened, weird word. The word moistened, say moistened with me. Ready? 1, 2, 3, moistened. Anywho, the word moistened means that the sand was made wet, firm, shiny, or bright. So again, it tells you where to go. You got to go back to paragraph 20. When you get to paragraph 20, read through that sentence, think about which one of these words makes the most sense. You might treat it as though it were a synonym. Remember our friends, the synonyms? Yes. You might take out the word moistened and try putting in one of these vocabulary words to see if which one has the same meaning in that sentence. Question 6. In the story, how are the boys and the girls alike? Now, again, if you have the word alike, it means, of course, how are they the same? What do they have in common? They planned their idea before the contest began. They have built sandcastles in other competitions. They have won the contest before. They know what they should call their sculpture. Which one of those is a way in which the characters are the same? Question 7. Which sentence states the main theme of the story? Now, this tripped up a couple of friends back on, I think it was Monday or Tuesday. We had a very similar question. So let's really try to think about the events that took place in the story and then what the theme is. It's basically the lesson that can be learned, quite like in a folk tale or a fable when there's a very specific lesson that a character learns. Most stories have a theme, and a reader can read the story and think of the theme. What lesson or message is the author trying to suggest that we as people in our own lives can do? Which is the main theme of the story? It is important to be on time when others are depending on you. Winning does not matter as long as you try hard. Working with others can be better than working on your own. The best ideas come to those who are patient. Now, here's the tricky thing. A lot of those answers make sense, but you need to think about what happened in the story. What were the kids doing? All right? Think about the problem and the solution on that one. Question 8. Which sentence from the story contains descriptions that appeal to most of the readers? I think I messed that up. Also, it's a very long sentence. Let's go back and reread it just to make sure that we know exactly what it's asking us. Here we go. Which sentence from the story contains descriptions that appeal most to the reader's sense of touch? Hang on. We can do this. Story descriptions. Okay, so they're going to be describing something, different parts of the story. There are things that are described. Appeal most to the reader's sense of touch. Okay, so I'm the reader and my sense of touch. So it's got to be a part of the story where the character is touching something, feeling something, sculpting something, designing something, changing something, shaping something, molding something. So it has a lot to do with touch. Okay, so let's check it out. Which one has descriptions that make us think about touching and feeling things? This was the day he had waited for all year, the New Year's Eve sand sculpture contest at the beach. Then he packed the sand with both hands while Max dumped on more sand and slapped it into a mound. Rising out of the sand nearby were castles, dragons, whales, and mermaids. A photographer hurried over to take a picture for the newspaper. 2 beautiful racing cars and 4 smiling sculptors. Which one of those sentences connects this idea of touching something? Okay, last multiple choice. Here it is. Check it out. What is the best summary of this story? Now, hang on. Before we go reading these possible answers, let's remind each other that a summary has got to include certain information. Got to include information about the setting, the characters, the problem, and then certainly the solution. It's got to have all of those things to be a really great summary, to be the best of all 4. Let's see which one it is. While two boys build a sand sculpture at While two boys build a sand sculpture at a contest on the beach, people walk around to look at their work. When the judge sees what the boys are building, the boys realize that the judge has the wrong idea about their sculpture. Summary number 2. Two boys are excited about entering a sand sculpture contest. They find a good place on the beach to build their sculpture. Many people stop to watch them work. Two girls next to them are building a similar sand sculpture. Similar sand sculpture. It's a lot of fun. Say that 3 times fast. Similar sand sculpture, similar sand, similar sand. Samantha? Two boys, paragraph 3, the third option in this summary. Two boys build a sand sculpture for a contest at the beach. They are surprised when two girls next to them are building the same thing. When the contest judge thinks the 4 kids are working together, the kids go along with the idea and win the contest. Or, when two boys work next to two girls at a sand sculpture contest on the beach, they learn that they had the same idea for the contest. No one wants to start over to make something else. The boys try to make their sculpture the boys try to make their sculpture better than the girls' sculpture, but the girls do the same. Only one of those summaries has information about the setting, the characters, the problem, and the solution. Which one is it? Mark your answer on a page that looks quite like that. It takes a little while. You got to kind of move it and position it carefully, but you can do it. See, right around there. No, there. That's a good picture for you. Okay. Short answer. Now remember, these 2 short answer questions that we're going to be working on do not need to be written in paragraphs. It's different than the work that you're doing with Mr. Gilbert, with the plans and the topic sentences and the evidence and explaining the evidence and the conclusion. All of that can be done with the wonderful Mr. Gilbert. But here, you only need 2 or maybe 3 sentences to explain your thinking. Let's see, what do they say? Question 10. How did Carter's feelings change in this story? Now, we had a very similar question earlier on in the week with one of our fiction texts. Remember that when you are describing a change, you need to say how that character was feeling in the beginning of the story and why. And then another sentence explaining later on in that same story, the character's feelings change. Why did they change? Very good. Question 11. How did the characters in this story solve the problem? So, what did the kids have to do in order to win the contest? Think very carefully. All right, my friends, one more time. Again, when you're taking the picture of your wonderful work today, please make sure that you line it up beautifully with the camera. I love seeing your beautiful faces, but I also want to check and make sure that you've got all the right answers. I want to see that beautiful handwriting and all that hard work. So make sure that you're doing just that. I cannot wait to read what you wrote about this wonderful story of being at the beach. So have a wonderful rest of your day, my friends. I will see you back here tomorrow with me, Mr. Scott, the Ultimate Champion, on the world's greatest YouTube channel with all these incredible second grade teachers. We love you. We miss you. Go work hard. And I cannot wait to see all of your work on Seesaw. Seesaw. Hey, Seesaw. See, beach. Little connection. All right. I'll see you tomorrow, guys. From Mr. Scott. Bye.